Street, so we went up and then down J.
Yeah, no,
Or-
yeah, it's the rest of your life. Got it.
We're coming back up and I'm like, oh, we got this hill, and they're like, yeah, okay. And I'm like struggling up the hill, my kids are just riding up the hill. I'm like, okay, it's a different, yeah.
I get off.
You guys don't need to get out and walk, you sure?
Yeah, take it easy.
Good job.
They're flying down, I'm like, hold on.
Thanks for holding on, you two.
You were watching.
Of course I was.
Still a minute early, but.
Yes,
Word, yeah.
yes. You know, it's dependent on the,
A manna from.
but they were way ahead of themselves anyway.
We are live. And
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the April 4th, 2025 Geneva IDA meeting to order. Thank you for attending. We always review the mission statement. David, you want to just read through it again? You got a minute?
do, and look, I put it right on the agenda.
So we can read it. Let's go to point.
Yeah.
That's great.
The Geneva IDA was created to promote, develop, encourage, and assist in acquiring, constructing, maintaining, equipping, and furnishing certain types of projects and facilities to advance the job opportunities, health, general prosperity, economic welfare, and recreation opportunities of the citizens of the city of Geneva.
Thank you very much. Just a strong reminder every meeting. The agenda's in front of you, hopefully. If you have a copy of it, is there any additions or something that you'd like to add? We good? Okay, we'll just pass on.
I think I might have one.
All
Ann.
right, it's good. I did it fast.
A few of us have talked about this, but I got a request to utilize the GEDC for a toy library, which I can explain further, but if you could throw that on at a convenient point, I'd love to discuss
Yes,
it.
I can put it right down here. We'll put a new business right after the director's.
Thank you.
And one removal is the February minutes. We only have the March minutes in here.
This March, okay. That's good. On a motion to approve the changes? Okay, thank you, Irene. Thank you. Seconded, RJ. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, on to the March minutes. They were in our packet. Yes, I believe. Yes, they were. Yep. Also, motion to approve the minutes before you ask for any corrections. Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
All right, Lowell. Anything in here that needs to be edited, corrected? All good? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approve the minutes, I'm sorry. Thank you. Financial report. Hannah, are you gonna do this?
I am.
You're on the list, so that's
I'm
great.
on the list and I'm here. I'm happy to talk about it. So we've got some reports in the packet. The first one, I'll review the balance sheet. We had talked at the last meeting about updating the assessed value for the GEDC. So that has been updated to 1.9 million. It was close to 3. So one thing I want to just talk about as a reminder, I've mentioned it in the past when we talk about assessed value. The only time an assessed value will change on a property is if there's a change in use or a revaluation. So it's not something that, you know, throughout the year, the assessor just notices, oh, this is assessed too high or too low and can change it. Has to be kind of a citywide revaluation or a change in use that would go through the code department.
Does it trigger a change of ownership
Ownership does not.
or like a sale price wouldn't it?
Right, so a sale price would go into it would factor into the value, but it wouldn't cause a change in value until there was a revaluation. So that's a lot of times why a revaluation happens. It's because there's a lot of sales and the sales can't change
Aren't reflected.
yeah.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you.
so the next time that there's a revaluation or if there's a change in use there, you would see that number change. On to the profit and loss, not much different from last month. There's some income from investments of just about 2,000 and then 30,000 in expenses, and that's the bid support. And as a reminder, this is not a calendar year. The IDA runs a fiscal year of October 1st through September 30th. So we are about halfway through the year, so that's where we're at for now.
Okay, any questions of Adam? Anything you see that's? And first, thank you for making those adjustments. Appreciate it. Make a motion to approve the financial report. Irene, thank you. RJ, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great, so moved. Thank you. Miles on the phone?
We don't have him and I sent him a text message. Maybe I can provide some updates and hopefully he'll jump on.
Okay.
The first is good news. There is some progress being made on getting the food justice stuff gone. They have a few more days until we can just get a dumpster in there. I think it's the 12th is kind of the final notice that we've given them to have everything out. And some of the things that were there were vehicles, a van and 2 trailers. And Miles says that there's some progress. I've heard actually from some people around the city that were interested in purchasing those. So hopefully that will be done soon and we can move forward with releasing that space. We had some conversations there with FLX Hospitality and Element Winery about expansion. I'm not sure where that's gonna go. They really, oh, there's Miles. They wanted us to pay for everything. I told them can't pay for everything. We have super low rent, so either you can get the super low rent and you can pay for what you need, or maybe we could pay for it if the rent was a lot higher.
Novel idea.
Yeah. Miles, hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good.
David just started a little bit of your report. If anything, I know you didn't hear what he said, but is there anything that you want to chime in on?
Yeah, I'm sure David and I spoke earlier in the week, so maybe he was rehashing some of that. Well, I would say with spring, hope is eternal here. So we got a couple leads we're working on that have come into our office that I discussed with David earlier, and then another internal move now that we're finally, I think, clearing out that one space that somebody's going to take that. Otherwise, all quiet on the Western front. We haven't had too many issues other than a few roof repairs with these. Every time, we get a heavy rain like that, we have to kind of deal with something, but otherwise it's been quiet over there, but I'm looking forward to the spring and what this will bring, for new potential tenants for sure.
Okay. We'll cover some of the stuff. We have a GDC meeting committee, kind of have a few issues there, I think, discussion. Any questions of Miles? Everyone okay with what we're doing over there? All right. All right.
Oh, I had one question, Miles. Do you have any update on Suite 203A Swartley?
In terms of, give me a specific question.
Oh, just being, they're on the delinquency list.
Oh, yes.
Kind of a larger amount. And there was a payment plan in place. Is everything going as expected on that, or?
Yeah, so far, I think he had a little blip on the radar screen there, but my accounting department has been working on keeping him on track there. I don't know what his major issue was, but I think he'll be fine in the end. He's almost to the end of that plan, I believe. So he's really the only one that was having some issues.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Miles. You want to stay on for a minute? We're going to have a GDC committee report here, just in case we have any questions for why that's coming
Absolutely.
up.
Absolutely.
Okay, Lowell, do you want to kind of report on what we talked about, what
Sure.
progress we did since the last meeting?
Yeah,
Thank you.
we had a nice meeting with Amy to explain our position with the GETC building that, in essence, we don't want to operate in the red with that building, and the majority of the building is rented to, or not the majority, but a good portion of the building, like 30,000 square feet, is rented to the city with a long-term lease that extends another, what, 5-10 years?
10 years, yeah.
Yeah, and there doesn't seem to be a way for us to raise the rent to meet current standards of what rental space should be. I've been in that section, and they have so many vehicles. I mean, it is huge, that space that they rent. And if we keep it at the rate that it's rented, we're continually going to lose money. And so we ran it by her with a potential to sell the building in the future. The city would be facing a major rent increase then versus a reasonable increase now. And just to keep us so that we're not running in a deficit. That's in the essence of our conversation. And I think she was going to take that to the council and discuss it, see where we could land with this. Either we keep the building, or if someone comes along and wants to buy it in its entirety, then rent's going to go up, no question. That's the bulk of what we talked about.
Does a long-term lease like that not go with the sale?
In commercial leases, there aren't kind of protections that come with a residential lease. So with a residential lease, if your landlord sells, your lease is protected. With a commercial lease, there aren't those same guarantees. Yeah.
And when you're describing that you're running at a deficit, it doesn't include the soft sides of the deficit, of the amount of time and effort that's going into
Correct. Correct. There's
city staff to your efforts, and what's that taking away from economic development efforts that might be more fruitful?
Well, I think, Chris, there's a benefit to having it so that we can use it. I mean, the concept is an incubator to bring businesses in there. We show the business, but the building's in such poor repair that it's hard to garner market rate rents. So kind of what Miles are doing and the other management is we're pretty much giving the space away just to get people in there. And that's been corrected recently, the last few years, but some of the leases are remarkable in a negative way. The city being the most glaring one because of the square footage involved. So that's where there seems to be, because this has been a long-term trend where we're really not making money. The building hasn't been repaired or maintained. And the engineering report that we did the end of last year kind of confirms that there's quite a bit of an investment to make to do that. And we either, like Lowell says, we're either going to sell it to see if a developer might take it on, make the improvements, and use the space better than we're able to. And then if maybe we are involved with a new company going in there and we help them with, some sort of assistance. I mean, the plan was if the new company was there, we would reduce the rent, but the spaces would always be at market rate. We might help them for a year or two, but we've gotten people in there that we've helped and they've been there for a long time and they're still at that low rate. It's really not it's not in line with an incubator where you kind of help a business grow. So that there's some things there that we have to discuss, and obviously
The county is here today nicely. It was always interested in a joint housing effort in this new environment where housing is so big for land like that. But I also wonder if have we ever thought of a $1 price that came with $10 million of investment that we offer it?
Yes, well, that's what the RFP would be about.
Have we done that in the past to look at any interest in somebody who would take it for $1 but guarantee $10 million investment?
I think
Go on.
Yeah, we've had some conversations with some people, and just to be clear, we owe $500,000 on it, so we definitely couldn't sell it for $1, but maybe we could sell it for $1 million, or, you know, break even would be selling it for $500,000. So there have been conversations, nothing has come from those conversations at this point. But I think we've talked internally of if we were to go that route, we would have to put out an RFP, whether we knew there was interest or not. And that would be a process that would allow us to evaluate some of those opportunities.
And part of the impetus for us to talk to Amy and Adam was in the meeting also. Was just a heads up, you know, we've got to start moving on this. It's going to impact the city probably more than anybody. And you should know, I mean, seems obvious to us because it's been on our plate for so long, but you know, that needs to be, we need to elevate this conversation that whatever route we're going to take, we have to make some changes. You know, we can't let it just go downhill or continue to go downhill. We have been not just Webster Properties, but the other management companies have been patching it together for years, and we you know, we're doing it at $15,000 chunks. You know, we patch this part of the roof and that part of the plumbing or whatever, and it's
The incalculable is the time that people like David could be spending on the land south part of the city, or the town and country plaza, places where the economic impact, the value of his time and effort and your time would be greater than what we're doing with a 40-year empty.
Right. So there's, I mean, this is all part of the discussion that we have to actually elevate. We're kind of at the point where we've kind of studied it long enough.
Yeah.
It's time to do something about it.
Good.
And so the GDC committee will continue working on that. It's RJ, Lowell, and myself, and we'll, you know, just see what point we get at. But like we said, one of the first stops was discussing with Amy and Adam to kind of get clarity about what the tolerance of this city council is for this type of.
I don't think they're even aware of what the sweetheart deal that is at this point.
Well, it's, and again, we're probably, yeah, we're going to move forward with something here, hopefully within the next 6 months or so, and we need to, it's good for you guys to know.
Yeah, and I think part of understanding that, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but market rate for a space like that is between $4 and $12 a square foot. And I think we're charging 27 or 23 cents.
The new lease for the city is 38 cents. That started in
Yeah.
February. We had an escalation of whatever, 12 cents or something like that.
And like if we were charging $4 a square foot, we would be completely in the black.
Right. And we would
And make it
have money
to the
to
building.
continue to invest. And that was one of the things.
Completely in the black, not counting the time and effort that could be spent doing other things.
Well, I think that would also give us a surplus to do restoration work.
Yes.
Some real stuff.
Really bring in some.
Yeah, there was another thing we talked about, a segment of the building that has to really come down. And there's a lot of city records there that have to come out or go with the demolition.
They haven't been paying anything.
I don't think we can do that,
And then,
but it sounds like a great idea.
yeah, and the idea of perhaps the city is responsible for demolition because they use it for storage. So that was discussed too. And that's probably $500,000, like everything was.
Just doing that, yeah, yeah. It is like when I bought my house, every project was $10,000, whatever it is, it's $10,000. But with the GDC, it seems like whatever it is, it's 500,000.
Yeah, it was plumbing, electrical,
Well, those of
water
us,
supply, 500,000 each one.
those of us who grew up in this town know it's been empty since we were in elementary school, and now we're retiring. Just for perspective.
I will say it's far from empty now.
Yeah. it's not-
And there's a lot of exciting stuff happening there. I'm really excited about the gymnastics group
Mhm.
that's there, having something for kids. We have a karate studio that part of our report this month is they're expanding some more. A distillery and a winery. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
And the kitchen is a real asset in there. And we do have some solid tenants
Mhm.
that are getting closer to market rate. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like, this is not a loss leader. It's just that it's just a big space and we've got a lot of work to do on it. So.
before we move on from GEDC, this is I think, a good time to talk about the toy library. Before we get to that, I sent to the GEDC committee and just want to kind of finalize the Geneva Theater Guild, who's one of our tenants, likes the idea of adding murals to the space, and they would like to do a mural in the hall on the outside of the space that they lease, which I think
Awesome.
couldn't be a better idea.
Yeah.
But just in case anyone thinks that's not a great idea, speak now or forever hold your peace. They're gonna get some HWS students at Day of Caring to do that, so I'd like to give them the all clear if we're,
Please.
I'd love all of our tenants to do that because it's kind of a dark, sad hallway otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's a go.
Great.
Okay. Okay, the next, any other questions about GDC?
Do you want to
Do
do
you wanna
the
do
toy
the toy
library
library?
now?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, speaking of giving space away,
Yeah.
this is, I was approached by a group who wants to start a toy library, which would be just, literally like a library. You take it out for a month and you bring it back in. And they keep an inventory of what's in and out, the whole bit. The toys would be donated. I was approached because of my involvement with Geneva, now it's just Reuse Systems, Inc. And we would love to have them part of our building, but our building doesn't exist. So as soon as we have a building, we'd love to take them in and give them a room there. But in the meantime, all they need really is space to store these toys. They're going to be doing pop-up events, especially in the summer, of course. And they've got things in everybody's living room and attic, and they want to consolidate. They have storage boxes. They don't need, obviously, heat or air conditioning or any luxuries of an office. They don't need, the walls can be crumbling as long as there's no rain coming in. So I thought perhaps there'd be a space at the GEDC that would accommodate this, that they could have access to and take it out just for the pop-ups. And hopefully, I mean, I would say to realistically look at a year, but hopefully there'll be some movement that can get them out of there into a more permanent space fairly quickly. But that's the proposal. I'm just curious how that would work for people who've studied this far longer than I have.
Do you need a space that's secure, like locked?
Probably, yeah.
And then access all hours or just during the day?
Maybe just during the day, yeah.
It's easy to get in and out of the building now.
Yeah.
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 Every time I just walk in, so. What you had some ideas on space,
Do you have a sense of the square footage?
No, I mean, they can stack things. I
Yeah.
don't think they need a lot of space.
So the smallest,
That smaller office, if you go up the stairs to the left there.
that might be possible, yeah.
Yeah, that's not huge, but it's probably 200 square feet, something like that.
Yeah. Are they dependent on zero rent? Is that?
Pretty much, I think. I mean, I feel like they have somebody else is involved in some of these discussions who I feel like is getting the money for the bins, for
Mhm.
example. So there might be some funding available for a small rent fee.
I think the caveat would be is if we were to donate the space, would be if we had a tenant that wanted to take
Yeah.
the whole area, or
Yeah.
something, you might have to move down the hall or someplace else, there might be
Right.
some relocation necessary if that were to happen. Miles, you're still there. Can you think of another space where, Dave and I suggesting possibly the space that's right above, as you go up the stairs from the entrance to the left, to the right, I'm sorry. There's a
Yeah.
small, probably I don't know, 12 by 12 or 15 by 15 small office there or something like that.
Yep, there's a couple scenarios like that that we could explore.
I mean, just all even down that corridor, there's some smaller offices, but, and you're right, this is going the opposite direction of what we've talked about.
Yeah.
I know, that's good timing on the agenda.
I wonder if,
To think about.
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Great
it's-
idea, but I wonder if there's a way to tie in. I just think of all the incredible businesses around here. I mean, maybe we could pitch. Maybe there's businesses that would actually like to be part of, in a sense, paying toward the rent for this
Oh, yeah.
project. So just to be involved, I mean, it's great if to do it rent free, no problem, but I'm thinking more of, there might actually be some businesses that would love the idea of providing
Mhm.
some dollars each month to go toward this and kind of have their name associated with the project.
Yeah, that would be good for them too.
Yeah, that's-
They have, looked at many other spaces without any luck.
Yeah.
So, but that idea, I don't think has come up.
I mean, I don't know, just a suggestion.
Yeah, yeah.
you know, As far as.
The thing that's good about that, it doesn't set a precedent.
Right.
Right, yeah. too.
Yeah, I will say I've also heard from the Geneva Rising Arts Foundation that put together a grant to buy and build a trailer stage that like folds out. And they said, oh, we'd love to make this available for city events, which I think they would rent it out, which I think is cool. Our city-owned stage, I think we should just pour gas on it, light it on fire.
I know where you could do that.
Yeah, maybe inside the part of the GDC.
Yeah, that would work. Two birds.
But they were also saying, oh, you got all this space at the GEDC, is there a place we could just park this inside for free? Because it's a service to the community. I think there's a lot of things that we can put in, or that will make that kind of pitch. So we do have a lot of space, just need to be prepared for, are we gonna have a criteria for how we decide who we give free space to if we're gonna do that?
Sure.
I like the idea better of the rent is really low if we can find a way to help groups pay for it. But
In your timing's critical, didn't you say you wanted to by?
Well, I know they're planning events for the summer, which is like tomorrow, so, and I don't know how they're storing things now, but they are in, somewhat of a hurry to find a space to put it together.
Miles, what would that space normally go for? What would we looking for that? I mean, that was one of the
For
spaces.
that one small
Yeah.
office.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, it's probably in it connects to those two larger spaces, so we've
Right.
tried to, keep that way, but we did rent it out separately to like an insurance agent once. I think we were in the, $400 range, something like that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a small space.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, what's good about that space, that area is dry and
Yeah.
it's insecure. It's got, it's a little bit better. Now you'd have to go, there's a half a flight of steps there.
I think it might be a problem.
It's not, there's some space on the second floor, but it wouldn't be as accessible.
Mhm.
Couldn't we do something with a real short-term?
like in the car storage area,
Yeah, and no charge area that has been vacant for a long time and not really occupiable as it is. No heat,
Yeah, actually, to be honest with you, there is a space like that would maybe be perfect. That's, unrenovated. It's never been touched since probably the can was functioning in there. There's a space like that, maybe if you didn't have to, touch it or renovate it, it would be a perfect spot for them. And then you could do something nominal, like $50 a month or something, but that space might be better because it's sitting there with.
I mean,
I'm sure that.
I think, why don't we, if you could, kind of give us a price of what you normally would rent that unapproved space and then.
I heard $50.
Yeah, and then we'll see if.
Yeah, if you were doing it for this scenario, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But we'd have to like put new carpet in it for, if a normal office tenant wanted to go in there, it needs to be, touched, painted and all that good stuff.
Yeah, they wouldn't
dry.
need any of that. Yeah.
What room is that, or how did we get to it?
It's right near the other room that Ann was talking about. It must have been like their corporate office back in the day, because it has some like really nice like old wainscoting and things like that. But there was 3 offices that are kind of connected right there in that little short corridor.
Okay, next to the paper company.
Yeah, well, right now it's next to. There's one tenant in the middle there that's FLX Glassware is
Okay, yeah,
in the
I know
middle,
what
and
you're
that,
talking about.
there's an open nicer office, and then there's an open one that needs to be touched.
yeah. So when you go up the stairs, the first door on the right,
Correct.
that's pretty convenient.
Yeah.
It's great.
Do we need to take some action now to, since that seems to be a good room?
No, Miles has the authority to approve it, so
Oh, okay.
as long as he's comfortable with that.
I'm comfortable. The
So would we be looking
collaboration
for
between us and them.
a $50 a month rent, or would we? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
let's do that and we'll see if we can get you some donations.
Sounds great.
All right.
Right now, if you want.
David's got a lot of money, so.
I've heard.
I think that's good, and maybe our attorney can chime in, just because we have had issues recently getting out a tenant that we were giving a big discount on rent to. It's expensive. If you get into, and hopefully we won't get into that situation here, that when we're done, but having a lease and having,
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's great. Well, thank you, everyone.
Great idea. It's awesome.
Yeah.
okay, next on the agenda. Very good. Rewards Committee, Lowell, you're back on.
Good thing I came prepared. Yeah, I've made some progress in the last month, and one thing that's difficult is trying to find people's cell phones, because no one has landlines anymore. You know, the 4 homes that have been listed as available for us and really have shown great improvements in the last couple of years. And I've taken pictures. I was able to make contact with 2 of the 4. They were so excited. They were amazed that it was real, that someone was paying attention to what they did. And I have the pictures that I took. I have names, and just I'll hand them around. I just have one set. Then I went back to Lowe's 3 times to try and find the manager. His name is, well, anyway, I couldn't find him the last time. And the word is that although he said he would provide products versus money for an award, now they're thinking that it has to be a not-for-profit, that they would. And is there any way for us to square that deal with them? So call it something else? I just said it was, something that an event that I had come up with your help, because Ithaca had done it, and that's why we're calling it Geneva Pride. And I gave him my cover letter last October, and I repeated it this time. And that's what I hear, that they can't do it unless it's a not-for-profit, or I don't know if it's LLC, but we don't have any organization.
We do. Geneva Downtown Association is the 501c3 arm of the bid, and we can absolutely run it through that, no problem.
Okay, great.
Yep.
I
can give you all the information.
Yeah, help me with that. And then so that was one thing. Pet Materials, on the other hand, they're all excited. And I think they're going to have like a bucket of materials and tools that they would give to each group. Just terrific.
That's great.
Okay, and then I went to there's two families that I can't reach. I think one of the houses, I've never seen a car there. And I even put a slip of paper in their mailbox. I mailed them a letter, and I pounded on the door, but can't reach them. So I don't know how that's going to function, but to stand in front of their house and give an award to nobody. You know, so that, anyway, then I went to these guys, Halex Awards downtown.
Yeah, yeah,
Great guy,
yeah. Isn't it great?
David,
Yeah.
yeah. And he gave me this, and prices are so less than I thought.
Yeah.
And we can get a terrific plaque for everyone that would win an award. And I wrote up, I can just pass this around, what I thought the award would read on it, and it would be in recognition of outstanding contributions to building improvement and commitment to excellence. So anyway, and then I told HEP Materials that if they contributed, we'd put their logo on it. Yeah. So there would be a plaque that they could. I think they have indoor and outdoor plaques, so I would suspect the one indoor is easier, you know. So I'm real close. It's just trying to reach these last two homes. The other part that I thought we would do, only because it's where I walk the dog every morning and I see these terrific buildings that have been improved in the last couple of years right around my house. They certainly don't need any monetary award. You know, they're doing very well. And but the improvements are vast on two large apartment buildings, just to give them maybe a merit plaque, which is they're under $100, and just to recognize the work that they've done. And I've been inside the buildings just because I walk by and I talk my way in while they're under construction, and it's substantial investments. And then when they see me, they complain about the taxes they have to pay. All things considered, just to recognize them and thank them. So there'd be two of those. So we got 4 homes and 2 big buildings to talk about. So pretty soon, I think maybe May, we can hit. And if my photographs aren't, you know, with my phone, so maybe I'll look at you to take some pictures of the homes, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Yeah, okay. So that's it. If Lowe's can't do something, we can do gift cards or something like that.
Then we'll make an effort to make sure it's in the paper and all that, publicize it, yeah.
I guess I'll need some help with that. How to do that, who to talk to. That's about it. We're almost there.
Steve, if you're listening. He's our,
I'll
he
help.
writes our articles.
I can't.
We can get stuff in. Yeah.
Okay. So I've got, you guys want to look at this now or later? It's up.
Yeah, maybe after the meeting,
Yeah,
we can take a peek at what you got.
Mhm.
Hey, thank you all. Good work. Good work. Good idea. Getting it done. That's great. All right, the next committee is the nominating committee. Want to introduce everyone to Josh Can. And we're going to discuss kind of his application here. We invited him to the meeting just so he can kind of get a feel for what we're doing before he jumps in both feet. I think that's a good thing. But
Now.
Yeah.
we did include his bio and the dates, and RJ wanted to, well, actually, if you don't want us to hear you talk about you want to step out for a minute.
Sure.
Okay, might be good to do that. Thanks. All right, RJ.
So Ann and I had the opportunity to meet with Josh last Friday for quite a little while. I mean, his bio, I think, speaks for itself. I mean, with all his you know, accomplishments and his current role now with Lions Bank. But what struck me extremely positively about Josh was he's extremely articulate. And he was extremely prepared for this meeting. I think he had a list of about 10 questions. Good questions, actually. A few stumped us maybe a little bit too. But he definitely did his homework on the, you know, on the IDA, which is great. So again, I think his bio speaks for itself. I know that he did fill out the official application, I believe, with the city. But you know, because of that, you know, we strongly recommend bringing, Josh onto the board.
He's in banking, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's got a finance degree from Cuba College. He minored in finance. He's got a bachelor's in science and business management. Currently, he works in his position with Lions. He's a underwriter and he approves commercial real estate, office space, hotels, developments. He's involved in the ag side of it with dairy, cash crop, cattle, wine production, sales. Senior underwriter, working on more of those complex deals. So I think he brings a lot of knowledge to this board in a lot of ways.
And he's a city resident.
He is a city resident. I think we
Okay.
asked that 4 or 5
Yeah,
times,
yeah.
yes.
He's not planning on moving.
Not to our knowledge.
I'll just say it's super unfair that you guys found him because we have a finance seat on the LDC open that we're having a really hard time finding someone for. But you did do the work. Yeah, right.
So with that, I'd like to make the motion to.
Right, we have to, the city council has to approve this, so we're recommending the placement to city council, and then hopefully the next meeting, they'll be able to put that on the agenda, so Josh will be a member at our next meeting. So I'd like, if there's any questions that we have,
I will say that I think our policy has been sending the applications to council, and he skipped most of the questions on the official application.
If it would be okay to include the cover letter or bio that he sent you,
Yeah, sure.
then that would fill those gaps for them.
That could help. I mean, I would also suggest, just because I know how some people are, that we just ask them to fill in the questions.
okay, we can do it when you ask me again, but.
Yeah.
We all,
I got a motion. Who's a second?
okay,
I'll second that.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyway, both RJ and I feel he'd be a great addition. Like you said, he was well prepared. His questions were very well thought out. And Steve Dorado, who highly recommend, he's, and that he was very thorough and careful. And I think when we look at obviously we got some IDA, our pilots coming up. I think he's going to be beneficial in our review of those types of financial things. His questions were, he's going to give Adam a run for his money, I think.
Doesn't take much.
All right, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. So if we can put that on the agenda for city council.
Can I ask
And are we?
a question?
Yeah, question.
How many more spots do we have? I spoke with Kyle Olszewski, who also sits on the zoning board of approvals, and he filled out an application.
I got an application for him yesterday for the LDC, not the IDA. Yeah, I don't know if he clicked the wrong button.
Well, we talked about the IDA, so.
Okay.
Well, how many spots do we have open? I was trying to, just the one more
Just the one,
spot?
yeah.
So we have a full board now. Okay. What was
We're
the
outside
other,
now.
where else are you looking? Was it, what other?
LDC.
The LDC has 3 openings.
Okay.
One for someone in commercial lending, one for someone in construction lending, and one for someone representing an employer with over 100 employees.
They have to be city
They
residents
have to be
too.
city residents. That was our issues. We had some really great finance people who work in the city, but
Yeah.
don't live in the
Told you, Steve, we got to change that law, all right?
Good on.
Rob Cosent is talking to a few people at LNB.
Great.
So.
Yeah.
How long that takes him.
All right, so
Is- Do you think
now,
Kyle would fill one of those?
He's real estate,
Oh,
so, yeah.
get him into lending.
Change careers. Just a little bit.
you got to have some ongoing projects to report.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He didn't have a
That was my
glass.
chance.
Listening on the door. That's good.
Ask you to leave it now.
Thank you.
So ongoing projects, we are expecting, gave out, applications for two of our residential development projects downtown. So the Finger Lakes Times building, with Lakeview and CSD. They are going gangbusters. They'll be before the planning board this month and next month. Yeah,
That's fast.
it is fast, yeah. And I expect them to have an application to us probably at our next meeting. Which would be great. They're getting ready for summertime applications for the Light Tech program, which is once a year. And I'll say I met with the state reps for that program and they were really excited about that group, and also about home leasing, that they're, some of the best, and they could see us getting to in 1 year if we have really good applications with a lot of support, which is rare. I'll say when I worked in Tompkins County, one of my big goals was getting to in 1 year, and they told us you're never getting to in 1 year. But Geneva hasn't had one in 50 years, so.
It's good time.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So I expect that we'll be getting, the benefit of probably two, in the next 3 months, applications. The OEO project has had a committee, that our council liaison has been appointed to kind of steer that ship with the preferred developer. So that's 595 South Exchange. That property has a development team that's working with the city to put together a project and a deal. And we should be kicking that off hopefully next week.
Okay.
The other kind of sizable project is the Foundry home leasing project. Again, we are expecting a pilot from them. They're at the very beginning of their, they put in an offer to the city to buy the lot for $70,000 that the city approved. This last meeting this week, there was some push to undo that, which did not succeed. So that group is planning neighborhood meeting. They are at the very beginning. So they're a group that will work closely with the neighborhood and community on design. I'm excited about it. I think they're very sensitive. There is controversy there. It's not uncommon for people near a project to be concerned about it, especially in a case where, the neighborhood has been hurt by that site in particular for a long time. So I can understand the concern. I think this developer will do a really good job of being open and straightforward, and they really are starting at zero now. They obviously have to come up with a project that works financially. They put in quite a $70,000 is a strong offer to the city for purchasing that. Far better than most of the offers we've gotten on lots, so that will proceed in the months coming forward, and we'll expect a pilot for both of those projects. It's something to start thinking about and researching the way pilots are done for residential projects. A lot of times, if the numbers work, the pilot ends up being pretty close to what the taxes would be paid anyway, but the financiers like that a pilot is set in stone what the payment's going to be every year for the term of the grant agreement that they give. So sometimes the deals are very close or an estimation. I think they're going to work with us to try to make the calculations easy on staff, so that it's understandable and straightforward. But ultimately that will come to us deciding, we're not trying to put in too much money to any project. The goal isn't to make them make huge amounts of profit. So we're balancing how much they need, and the kind of security of knowing it's a set payment over time.
Steve, do you have any, anything that your firm has put together that would give us, just some more understanding of what David just said about the residential?
There is no really kind of one size fits all when it comes to housing pilot. It depends on each IDA's UTEP. You can obviously deviate, there's a process for that. Typical pilots that we see for housing, you can have your standard formula based where it's, you know, your abatement is on whatever the increase in the assessed value is. I know Comida has a shelter rent program where they basically take, you know, gross rents less landlord paid utilities, and then it's 10%. And that's the payment. You can have a fixed payment pilot structure with that. It provides certainty to the taxing jurisdictions. The only caveat is we're making assumptions that, you know, may not pan out in 15, 20 years. So that's kind of the trade-off on fixed payment. Like I said, the good thing is taxing jurisdictions, they can budget for it accordingly. They know exactly how much they're getting. It's just, we don't know what village rates are gonna do,
Sure.
you know, in 10, 15 years. So there's a bunch of different ways to go about this.
Well, sounds like we'll have to rely on you when we get some paperwork in front of us to kind of understand the ins and outs of it, because
Yeah.
it sounds like it's not as straightforward as,
And we can
we're not familiar with it. We
Yeah,
haven't
we
done
can
this
even
type of
certainly
thing.
set up, you know, preliminary calls with the development team
Mhm.
as well, just to see what they're kind of thinking.
Sure.
You know, if they, you know, home leasing has done other pilots with IDAs.
Okay.
Shelter rent.
Yeah, okay, so, you know, kind of what they're,
Everything you mentioned, we've done in the last year and a half.
yeah, so what they're kind of accustomed to doing. Like I said, all those different structures that I just explained, we've done countless of times. So it's really just kind of a pleasure of the board. And we can certainly get into, you know, the nuances of each of those and how that would kind of play out, you know, when.
That sounds good. That's
It'd be great to have.
Can you
Ryan.
remind me real quick again, when we approve a pilot, when does that kick in? When do the payments kick in?
So depending on when you file a 412A exemption application with the assessor. So whatever the taxable status date drives typically when that abatement will kick in. Typically when we structure our pilots, we also account for construction periods because we don't want developers wasting their abatement when they're, you know.
Right, yeah, right,
50%
yeah.
done. So taxable status date drives a lot of it. And then if they've got a construction period, we'll try to account for that. And then, you know, typically we try to play it to match up with that.
right. Good.
So, okay.
I saw an old aerial of the foundry site and how it was when it was a foundry. Do we have any sense of, I've only been here 8 years, so I never saw it, but how tall those buildings were, what was involved with it, and how much of the surface was paved and hard and smokestacks, that kind of thing?
Historic Geneva
Okay.
has pictures and stuff like that, but it was John, you would know. It was a single story.
up here.
It was a single story building, but was up about 4 foot above grade, right? Didn't have an elevated floor.
On the Jackson Street side, yeah, it was elevated and then it sloped over to
Okay,
west, if you will, or south rather, so at grade. It was single story, there was one cupola, which would be a smokestack. I'm not sure where you need to go with that.
No, just curious, I used to represent developers a lot.
It was all a cement floor, also, it was concrete floor everywhere. I think the demolition was in 2 phases, I think I say scraped off the building. And
to the
then-
slab, yeah.
And then this left the slab, and then later, I guess, through funding and whatnot, they removed all of the slab, and that's what got remediated. I think it's about 2 feet deep of fresh soil, if you will,
Okay,
as we speak.
Right.
That helped kind of characterize.
yeah, was it a real noisy operation, lots
You
of
betcha.
traffic, lots of traffic?
Yeah, lots of traffic.
Did they use a lot of water? You know, just wondering
Yes,
what the impact was before.
it was significant. There were 2 shifts. There was a day and a night shift, so it was noisy till midnight.
And the lights were always on, that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to hear that, what it was like.
Okay,
Can I ask one quick question on the new development that is going to go in there?
Mhm.
are they committed to that 4 stories? I just, or is that just like one example of the possibilities?
So there's been some misinformation that they came with a building design.
Right,
They showed designs that they have at other locations. They didn't show any building design. They did show a potential footprint and that would need to be 4 stories. So they need to be just like the minimum unit number is about 60 for the funding program that funds that kind of development.
And they, yeah, in their presentation, they were very clear that this was just kind of a
right,
broad stroke,
Yeah.
but there is some zoning stuff or planning board stuff where they have to have so many parking spaces for so many units and all of that. And it's, it's not a real huge lot, so
Yeah.
the footprint of the actual building cannot be,
be very big.
because of the parking. So I mean that, but they're good, but
Yeah, there's room.
I heard the presentation. I think they're committed to figuring it out,
Yeah.
whether it's right on Jackson Street or set back or how they're gonna
Right.
do.
And there is room to reduce the parking in our zoning. They can provide data, which is easy. I mean, this kind of housing, you rarely need 1 space per unit. It's usually a lower rate is fine. I will also say they put the building right on Jackson Street because our zoning says you have to put the building right on the street. They're doing what our zoning says we want that we adopted. The zoning actually says you can have 5 stories. It says the maximum it can be from the street is 10 feet. So, that wasn't them saying, we really want the building on the street. That was the city saying, this is the way, you
Yeah.
build a walkable urban neighborhood.
Right.
So, in the development review process, we could talk about variances, we could talk about turning the building. We could talk about having, a piece of the building be lower in front and taller in back. There's a lot of options that could be, but their kind of sketch, I mean, it's a pencil sketch that
Right.
they provided that just showed that parking and a building does fit on the lot. Was exactly what our zoning says to do. So.
Got it, thank you.
I attended the presentation, and they did just what you have to do in a preliminary presentation. And they studied our zoning and they see that 5 stories is allowed, 4 stories will fit. Yep. And they see that the setback is this because in the city, you really want buildings up tight and parking behind. You just don't want parking in front. And if you make that facade attractive, that blends in with the neighborhood if possible. Like when I went there, I saw across the street, what appeared to be a 4-story building that I always thought was a terrific building. I didn't see it rented, but it's right near them. And then the houses themselves are tall. So anyway, I think they're gonna have a good way of presenting the site.
I also point to the Huntington Apartments in Seneca Falls, which is just recently completed. Not because of
Almost completed.
blank pit building, but because of the quality of the work that they do.
Great.
It's remarkable.
Yes, really remarkable, very remarkable.
It was a great thing for the city, so I'm
Yeah.
glad it didn't get shut down.
Yeah, and they're offering tours, like they would love to take people who are concerned to some of their other buildings and, they're proud of the work they do and I think it's merited. And, it's natural to be concerned about change.
Sure.
We have to work through that.
All right,
Yeah.
we want to move on?
Yeah.
We can. All right, we're going to go into executive session. We just have a few quick items this time. So, Josh, we're going to ask you to leave and hopefully we'll be in touch with what the city council says. You okay with a questionnaire? I mean.
I hope the
Nice to
boss
meet
lets
you.
you come to a meeting once a month.
He said he did. You said the.
Oh, good.
David suggested that he redo the application.
You already got some questions on the application.
Absolutely.
that you left, Mike.
I have questions.
Oh, yeah, I only filled out.
Can I call you later?
Application on the idea.
For going.
Hang with you.
It would, right? It's an emergent filled in as much as I can. Like I would fill in everything just so they're not like.
Exactly.
It's up to you.
for executive?
Yeah, I did think.
Ask.
What we should
Yeah.
recognize.
Ask me, put again. Just read it.
Yes, and I said it's all.
Didn't.
Oh, they're probably not.
Ryan was just mentioning, I emailed you all the survey that county
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
economic development is doing for their strategic plan.
Okay,
Okay, got it.
so it's a real
Thanks for
thing.
stopping.
Nobody's gonna keep track of our social security number.
I think, I don't like, I mean, I'm trying to think what we had to. I think we'll ask you to leave, John, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember what we
I
had.
was here as Chris, but I'd ask Chris to leave too.
Thanks, John.
The minutes.
Lowell and Pat, though, I would like to side chat with you later if I can.
Okay.
Okay.
You gonna
Like,
bring around?
like a motion going to,
Okay,
like a motion to go into executive session. Thank you, Jan,
A second.
and RJ, second. Are we?